Minimal individualization of care. How many of you have what you call a very strong program? Program, meaning that, particularly in residential settings, the program, right? The program does the work. We just sort of manage the program and oversee it. Clients get up at a certain time, eat at a certain time, go to community meeting, go to lecture one, go to group, go to, you got me? The program. People, everybody goes through the program. And when we operated on the idea of, we have a single pathway model of addiction treatment, one unknown cause, and if you got the bug, it looks like this, and it responds to the program here, and then you get long-term recovery. When we had that view, that seemed to make a whole lot of sense. But if we take on the notion that we actually have multiple etiological pathways, multiple patterns and subpopulations who need very, very different treatment interventions and have different styles of long-term recovery, maybe the program's got to be rethought a little bit. Would you agree? So part of what's happening in recovery management, to a great discomfort of a lot of staff, because to be honest with you, I finally figured it out. The program is really for the staff. Okay, I'm serious. I mean, it's nice. I mean, I love the structure, love the security. I love giving that lecture, you know. I'm crushed that they don't want it anymore. I mean, it's really about the staff. In the recovery management model, where we end up is we end up with a very, very large menu of potential treatment and recovery support services that are individually applied, uniquely combined and sequenced, and at times thrown away when none of them seem to fit the client we have in front of us. And if they need things we don't have, as a clinician, my responsibility as a clinician and advocate is to what? I got to find ways to generate it. And if we can't, I need to admit I can't do it here, and I need to get this person someplace where that can happen. With me? So, but what kind of strain does that put? How much skill do you need in that kind of system compared to the program? Because, I mean, you got to be smart. I mean, you got to understand a lot of stuff, right? And you got to apply that very individually every day and make those, so it's not easy. It requires a whole lot more sophistication. What does it require by way of supervision? You know, in the clinical supervision on a lot of places in the country has deteriorated to paperwork supervision, right? I mean, let me just be honest here. When we debrief clinical supervisors, they're the ones say, you know, we're not doing clinical supervision like we used to, or like I had. Haven't done it for years. We're doing good if we can supervise and just keep up with the flow of activity in the paper. But when I'm talking about this kind of model with this incredible service menu, we need good clinical recovery support supervision to see how that person's responding. And if not, we got to think through what are the combinations that are going to work best for us. My guess is you probably have some very good women's programs in your state. Would you agree with that statement? We've created gender-specific treatment in many of our states, and the people who've worked in that have really rewritten fundamentally our understanding of addiction, treatment, and recovery of women. I mean, you can find enormous expertise within some of these specialized tracks. And that's great. But can those be appended to large treatment systems that treat large numbers of other women who have no access to any of that understanding and any of that service technology? Or what about other programs who don't have women's programs but treat women in the mainstream part of treatment who have none of that knowledge? In recovery management, what we're trying to argue for is the issue is not creating specialty appendages. The issue is not that you've got 2 or 3 or however many programs in Georgia that really understand, that really get it about treating women and their children and families. The issue is can a woman in the state of Georgia walk into any addiction treatment program and get access to that kind of knowledge and understanding and those kind of services? This is, and we can't right now, right? I mean, so what we're talking about is we're starting to say, how do we take these little pilots where we've got all this incredible stuff going on, how do we begin to mainstream some of that? Let's look at as we move We talk about evidence-based, high individualization, emphasis on mainstreaming services that are gender-specific, culturally competent, developmentally appropriate, trauma-informed. So the question is this simply like a new flavor of the month? Is like recovery management is this month, and cultural competence was last month, and trauma-informed services was the month before? And what we're beginning to try to say is, no, we're not talking about replacing any of this. I mean, if you're going to do recovery-focused systems of care, recovery-oriented systems of care, they in fact have to have these kind of dimensions. Recovery simply becomes the larger organizing framework within which those kind of services evolve. Number 5, just 2 quick things and we'll take our afternoon break.